Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. If you ever struggle playing against Melting Point with fortresses, then you're in for a treat. Let's go! At the bottom here, I am playing as a giant specialist, starting off with sledgehammers and arclights. My opponent, Odyssey, is a frequent tourney champion. I've seen him in all kinds of tournaments, and I've also casted this game before. He's a marksman specialist, playing with tarantula and crawlers, and of course, the orange man. Right off the bat here, I had to make a decision, is how am I going to deal with these tarantulas? I think the sledgehammers, they do okay against tarantulas as long as they get to fire only at the tarantulas while they're being distracted by other units. So the plan here is I'm going to have crawlers to provide a bit of distraction. I'm going to have most of my army on one side so I can deal with the tarantulas. So with 2 squads of sledgehammers, it will actually be enough to bring down a tarantula fairly quickly. Hopefully, these 2 sledgehammers will overpower, eventually get tower, and then move or shift their attention to the other side. Alright, let's watch the battle unfold. Round 1. Not feeling too confident because the sledgehammers don't have extremely high DPS, but I'm hoping that once I have the distraction, I will be able to get this tarantula. Let's see. The other side had a single arclight that was just holding off the entire army. And unfortunately got one-shotted by the orange man, but it looks like I am doing okay with the tarantula, but not so much with when the orange man finally comes in. Can I still get the sniper? Yes, I can. And that's going to be round 1. Haste module is very interesting. Elite Mustangs, though, is one of those cars that nowadays when I see it, I almost always take it. Mustangs, they aren't really great in early levels. So level 1 Mustang is actually pretty terrible. They can't even clear a squad of crawlers effectively. But once they get to higher levels, just because they fire so fast, and also any sort of tower upgrades almost gives them the full benefit of the upgrade. So they can scale really hard in the late game. And having Elite Mustang card essentially helps you. It's like a cheat code that you skip the crappy part of the Mustang and go straight into the interesting part. So I took the Elite Mustang. They are expensive though. A level 3 squad of Mustang costs 400. So it's as expensive as a squad of Giants. But in the later rounds, like when you really need that extra firepower and also a bit of a chaff clear, those can be a godsend. Odyssey decided to take the shield on that round. Shield is very good, especially now I don't have damage. So he's going to have shield right here. Therefore, my sledgehammers will have an even worse time breaking through. I knew I probably wasn't going to win this round, so I just added more chaff, hoping to build a better board. And it's perfectly okay in early rounds just to throw the round. Well, not throw the round, but to build your board, because I am right now waiting for a unit drop, and hopefully a unit drop that contains Stormcrawlers. Stormcrawler will be excellent into this position because all of his units are static. They're kind of firing in this area here. So with Stormcrawlers, I should be able to bring down the tarantulas and then moving on to the tower. This round is pretty brutal. I wasn't able to bring down even a single tarantula, which means there's a pretty hefty HP loss here. Okay, we got round 3 unit cards. Wraith is interesting. However, I'm not sure if I want to keep the Wraith, because right now Wraith is getting shot at by the marksman. But I wanted to unlock Wraith at least, so that I can use them later on. Typhoon is another interesting choice. But I already have Elite Mustangs, so I don't think I'll need Typhoon later on to do the chaff clear. Alright, being Giant Spec, and also with the infusion of that extra cash from Wraith, I was able to bring down a fortress. Now with 600 left over, what's the rest of my game plan going to be? I think it might be another fortress down in this corner, so I can better deal with this cluster of units here. This one has been losing consistently, mostly just because of the tarantula clear out these pack of fans way too quickly, and of course the level 3 orange man here absolute chat of a unit one-shotting my Arclight every single turn. All right. Fortress on the side, fortress in the middle. I still don't think there's enough firepower right here in the middle, but I am slowly building onto the board. Fortress, once you get a few of them, they actually do a tremendous amount of damage. Now, I am putting down a fortress a little bit early, so it is round 3, and I'm letting my opponent know, right? This is what I'm going for, so he now has a chance to respond. It is risky because he can just start putting down Melting Point. Melting Point against Fortress is a game where it really comes down to chaff clear. I mean, most things really come down to chaff clear, but this one especially so because Fortress is actually slightly better at chaff clear than a Melting Point, right? Because they fire faster, it has a 5-meter splash. A Melting Point has to charge up even if it's against chaff, and he only kills like 2 crawlers every single time. So it's not great. And Fortress with range is just a little short of that of a Melting Point. So if you get Fortress range up against Melting Point with range, then they're kind of in the equal footing. And if the Fortress can clear out the chaff faster and getting onto the Melting Point sooner, then the Fortress will win. But then there's always the other possibility of your opponent winning the chaff war really hard, and then you end up with like 6 Melting Point on the board and you get instant killed. So it is a very fine line when you're playing Fortress against Melting Point, more so on a Fortress player, because you have to really be careful with your chaff line. Reinforcement, tank production is an excellent card. Sledgehammers is just being a nightmare for Melting Point to deal with. Every single Sledgehammer forces the Melting Point to almost charge up to its full power because of how much HP it has. And that's almost 5 seconds, so Melting Point will be wasting a lot of precious time aiming at Sledgehammers. With the production, they actually produce 2 Sledgehammers every 13 seconds, so if you do the math, 5 seconds to charge up to a Sledgehammer, that's 10 seconds for 2 Sledgehammers against a single Melting Point. Factoring the turn rate, which is probably another second, and then when it finishes killing the 2 Sledgehammers, then you have 2 more Sledgehammers popping out. So it's actually really good if you ever find yourself in a Fortress versus Melting Point situation. I added another Fortress to deal with the pesky Arclight here in the corner. I added the range early with the loan. I think it's worth the investment to have range early because it allows your Fortress to gain more level faster. Without range, then you're essentially kind of running into the army. With range, you have a better chance of getting leveled. And also with range, you're kind of protecting yourself against early Melting Point as we see here on the board. Right now, this Melting Point's got 115, the Fortress got 140. It will start shooting at this Melting Point well before the Melting Point gets into range. So really good stuff here. Alright, Arclight gets one-shotted. Now we're going to focus the battle here right in the middle. On the right-hand side, I am doing okay with my chop. As you can see, there's almost a never-ending stream of chop just going to him. On the left-hand side, though, I am a little weak. Mostly because I don't have a lot of chop there. My only chop there here is an Arclight, and yeah, as you can see, Arclight, a single Arclight is just not going to cut it. So it goes down pretty quickly, but I think I'm going to wing on the right-hand side. Hopefully before they take tower, that would be sweet. No, they got the tower, but that's okay. I got a Fortress here, and it's going to one-shot these guys, and it's going to get some value. There we go. Already level 2, getting onto the bubble. Is it going to pop the bubble? It's going to pop the bubble, so that's another 100 resources my opponent is not going to get. Not gonna get a tarantula though, just a hair of HP. Alright. Smoke bomb, pretty darn good. And it's pretty good throughout the entire game because it lasts 2 turns, and after the smoke bomb is down, it has a 3-round cooldown. So it's not really bad because essentially you got a 2-round cooldown because you already have smoke on the 2nd round. I added here, my opponent adds a shield. What I wanted to play on this round is I really just want to get some of my elite Mustangs out. completely forgot about shielding, so the terrible noob mistake, but it doesn't really matter because I have a very healthy stream of chaff that's kind of coming in, and my fortresses, they are leveled with range, which means, yeah, right now it's kind of rough, right? We'll kind of have to shoot from the smoke, but I'm still dealing the damage. That's okay. My elite Mustangs are doing what they're supposed to do. They're kind of getting front and getting whatever they need to get done. Melting point continues to be a problem, both sides actually. And this is when a lot of the players get really scared, right? They see something like this and was like, oh no, this is now the battle start to really clashing down on you. I'm at 880 HP, which means in one more round, my opponent would just be able to get me. Rhino was dropped. I needed the money, got the Rhino, sold the Rhino, added even more level 3 Mustangs because they're so good. And with range fortresses, what these Mustangs will do is they'll fire from behind the forts against the incoming chaff, and once the chaff is cleared, they will actually run in front of the forts, providing a screen, which is really good against Melting Point, because they suck at killing these small units. Got 3 forts on the ground, one of them is going to level. My opponent decided to take the high level Vulcan, just to help with the chaff clear. And remember, right, when you're playing Fortress versus Melting Point, the player that wins the chaff war wins in a very big way. Okay, so here's a very stylistic move. I want to get out of the smoke, but also with the Fortress range of 155, right here, I can hit this tower. I can hit all the units here. I can start shooting as I'm walking. This is great. I'm going to move out of the way. I'm going to force a lot of units to just come into my range of my chaff, and I'm hoping my level 3 Mustang is going to do a lot of damage. Now I got 4 squads here, and they're going to absolutely smash against my opponent's army. The only thing that's semi-decent against these Mustangs are is the level 2 Fortress. Not Fortress, the Vulcan. Everything else, even the Tarantulas, they're not going to be great against the level 3 Mustangs with range. Alright, let's watch the battle unfold here. Look at how much damage, right? So we're getting popping, we're popping. Yeah, there we go. Oh, let's get the mines. Let's get the mines. Yeah, let's get the mines. This fortress right in the middle is just going for a ride. It's picking up all these high-level units, like getting the Typhoons. We're gonna get the Marksman. We're gonna get another Typhoon. It's just a beautiful, beautiful fortress. And then turning this head around, getting that melting point. We're gonna get tower. Right? And once we get tower, we're gonna turn back. We're gonna shoot, one-shotting. And now you can see the power of sledgehammer production. See how slow this level 2 melting point is at clearing out these smaller units. Absolutely terrible at that job. And there we go. 2 fortresses, getting the melting point, getting the tower, and of course winning this round. And remember, next round the smoke is disappeared. Back onto even footing. Still not out of this yet. Still at 880 HP, which means, ooh, look at Javelin. Javelin's actually really good, but I had to take M-Core. For me, I'm looking at Javelin. I was like, what can I jav that will kill things? Nothing, right? I can jab this cluster. It'll actually be pretty juicy, but I'll get a Tarantula. I will get a couple Typhoons, and that's about it. That's it. I cannot get the melting point. I cannot get the Vulcan, and that's kind of sad. All right, so I took the item, and I've added the item to the Mustangs, of course. They are so good with additional item. And I continue to just add on fortresses. One more fortress in the middle, additional fans at the front. Right now, one thing I'm terrified of is Firebomb from Vulcan. So I added additional fans on the side to distract Vulcan, and these fans will actually do really well. I put down oil, hoping the Vulcan would just burn this oil, and even if it doesn't, it really slows down my opponent's army, which is great for me because I'm the one with more chaff and more chaff clear. So I want to get ahead of them, and I want to just start pounding them from afar. My opponent added 2 more Vulcans for the chaff clear on the other side, realizing just the power of these Mustangs and how difficult it was for the melting point to deal with that. He also got this oil, which is super scary because the Vulcan can just ignite it, and it's bye-bye Mustangs. First of all, let's look at the right-hand side. Yep, the oil did not get ignited, which is a bit of a problem. And on the left-hand side, though, ooh, son of my Mustang survived and they're shooting from afar. I'm not sure it has enough firepower to really protect the... No, okay, so the melting point gets locked on. It's going to get this fortress, maybe? Yes, gets the Vulcan. This one gets the fortress as well. Things are looking a little dire for me. We're gonna have melting point on fortress. Oh, 2 melting point, 880. Oh, just getting that melting point in the nick of time, so I am not out of this yet. Still got one more round left in me. Alright, can we turn this around? Kind of on a back foot here. A lot of things to worry about. First of all, the firebomb is always a looming threat coming from my opponent's board. Firebomb essentially negates most of my chaff, and you know how it is in this game. Without chaff, you lose. There's also another looming threat of just going more melting point. Right now, I think if I were my opponent, I'd just drop down. First of all, I prop firebomb for 500, and I'll just drop down 2 more melting points. That is a very dangerous, very, very scary setup. Didn't want to click the shield just yet, but I needed to have some shield because smoke is off cooldown. Actually was available for the unit cards, so added the shield, and also the shield was served as sort of a preemptive firebomb. I don't worry about firebomb on this side because of these squad of fans. Firebomb in the middle is okay because I also have these fans, and I also have these ones just in the anticipation for the firebomb. But I wanted to have shield so that even if the firebomb lands, it has this nice round area for my Mustangs kind of sneaking and do the damage. And if it has too many firebombs, at some point I might even consider getting a missile interceptor. And here it goes. Here's the firebomb, and things are looking a little dire. And not only he's got firebomb, he's also got stormcallers with EM. So that is going to disable my fortress's range, right? All right, so the firebomb, the only one that really lands is the one that's coming here. But even then, my Mustangs are still firing from the safety behind the fire, which is great. But my crawlers, though, not doing too well. On the right-hand side, my high-level fortresses are breaking through, which means we're going to get the melting point. We are going to get the Vulcan. We're going to get the tower. And that's huge because we have melting point locking on this fortress. And with the tower debuff, I should be able to do a little bit more damage. Hopefully, come on, walking. No, I got disabled by the EM missile. That is not good. And we do have a level 2 melting point here. So that is not good. Being disabled like that. However, I should be able to get in just 2 shots. And we did. And we have another round under our belt. And we're getting a little closer. We're still a long way to go from winning. But we're definitely getting a little closer. And as your fortress start to level up, they really start to shine. Because melting point, it doesn't matter if you're a higher level melting point, your charge up time will always be at least 3 seconds. But with fortresses, once you level up, every shot does so much damage. Alright, unit drop. So here's the thought process with the wasps. My opponent is probably going to take scorpions or phoenixes because I have high level Mustangs, so wasp really doesn't make sense for them. Phoenixes adds that valuable backline damage against my fortresses. And Scorpion, if you want to do that, you can add acid to it, and then it just makes everything die a lot faster. Which means I am now safe to take the wasps. Now with wasps, I want to make sure there's absolutely no anti-air shenanigans in the air, really. So I decided to take anti-air. It's not necessary, it's more of a safety for myself in case my opponent does go with a lot of phoenixes. I also took energy shield just so that I don't get popped as easily by these marksmen, but it also doubles the health of these wasps, forcing the melting point to even stay on target for longer. Added a smoke here, and if it does land, it's going to be huge, right? So the wasp is now going to be my primary screen because my opponent does not have a lot of anti-air, and it's going to distract the heck out of these melting points. I could have done better by not taking air spec, but instead just going with ground spec or even with range. That is going to help my wasp to survive a lot longer against these fangs. But I'm not too worried about it because of my high level Mustangs. They clear this fence so quickly. It's not even a concern. Alright, so we're looking at a battle here. On the left hand side, it seems like my wasp is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And on my right hand side, look at all this wasp that's just being left over. And all these giants being exposed. My opponent did take energy absorption on the melting point, which I thought was really nice because once you end up with a fort versus melting point with energy absorption, you are going to win that pretty hard. But you never had a chance to get to my forts, which means I am now onto the tower and I'm onto your melting point, and that is a scary melting point, level 3, but it will never be able to fire out my forts. And just like that, in one fell swoop, I almost won the game with just 171 HP left. Well, my opponent. Okay, we're not there yet, and you can bet your ass that my opponent is going to have some pretty hard anti-air against the wasp this turn. And also looking at the board here, Bombard is offered, and Bombard is disastrous for my wasp. So I'm going to start selling wasps, and I was guessing, which side is it going to be? It's got to be on the side with the more units, right? So I decided to get rid of some wasp and get some money back. And I added shield, finally, now that my forges are level 3. So these shields are actually pretty substantial. Got rid of my wasp here just because I don't want to get bombarded. Looking at my opponent's board, what's the anti-air option going to be? I'm not sure. It's probably going to be more fans. Fans are pretty decent, and they're cheap, right? Late arriving fans, they're pretty good. No, it's going to be a couple squads of Mustangs all the way at the back here. They're not going to be protecting much because I don't have as many wasps on this side. On the other side is going to be another Mustang. Is he going to add range? No, it's just going to be aerial specs. So they are ranged against aerial units, but aside from that, they're kind of serving as chaff with only 110 meters. Okay, so what's my plan going to be? Well, continue to upgrade my Mustangs. I added even more forts. Noticing the weakness on anti-giant. So my opponent so far only has 2 melting points. So if I get enough guns onto this melting point, it doesn't matter if they have energy absorption. I should be able to bring them down fairly quickly. Okay, so the wasps are coming in. They're still doing what they're supposed to do until these level 1 Mustangs bring them down, which is good enough for me, right? Mustangs would then be able to come forward and provide a shield. And now my level 3 fortresses are now on target. If I get the melting point, I win the game. Alright, I got one on the other side. And it looks like I'm going to get the other one. That melting point is so distracted by the Mustangs. And yes, I got the melting point. And just like that, this is going to be GG. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this game. And I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics, Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress, the battlefield's alive with swarms.